Hi everyone. Thank you for joining today. Sorry about the wait, just letting everyone get in the room. So for today, we are running a exciting webinar on automating your financial operations with Xero. I'm Jared Fisher, head of product here at Kolleno. My co-host, Zach Resnick, founding director of Resolution. Um, a little bit about us. Prior to joining Kolleno, I've spent several years in the product industry where I've worked at several different fintechs building out their product roadmap. I'm an accountant by trade, so I really do understand your pains and problems. And yeah, I've spent the last 5 years of my life working on all aspects of the product life, specifically in FinOps, automating design, development, and operations of financial products. And yeah, that's a bit about me. Zach, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And Jared, as you said, we want to get in there before there's no light left. But I'm in Manchester, so we didn't really start with very much light today, unfortunately. Zach Resnick, CEO, founding director of Resolution, integrated bookkeeping solutions. Just a little bit of my background. My career path actually took three very distinctly different paths. I first started off in education for a good 13 years, both in formal and in the classroom and informal education. Shortly thereafter, I moved on to charity consultancy, which is a very, very exciting and in a wonderful position to help small charities set up, ensure that they were compliant, of course, to make finding funding opportunities and help them write grant applications. And then a very interesting role within that is working with communal cohesion with the local councils, etc., and that the charities should work together. And then don't ask me how and don't ask me why. I moved into bookkeeping, and then we started Resolution, like I said, about 5 years ago, where we work very, very closely with our clients to try to streamline processes. And automation, obviously, is a very key role within that, making sure that the processes are accurate, healthy, and quick and painless, of course. And I like to see ourselves as a bit of a strap line is that we are the outsourced member of your team, which means we're certainly cheaper than having a member of staff. You don't have to supply us with a computer, and you certainly don't have to hear our life story. But nonetheless, we are integrated within your team, doing what's necessary and taking off as much of the financial pain points as possible. Jared, should we get straight to it?
Yeah, cool. Let's jump in. So for the nature of today, everyone, we're going to be running through about a slide per product. So these are different products that Zach or myself use day to day within Xero, and got our personal recommendations behind it because we're not going to pump something for you if we don't know that it actually works. It's just going to come back to bite us. So yeah, we're going to take it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So Zach, why don't you get us started?
Straight from the horse's mouth. What is
Well,
that? Anyway. We'll discuss this later, Jared. Okay, now by means of introduction, when I was younger, which was recent, there was a song that I heard many, many years ago from a comedian. This song came out in 1963. No, I was not a kid in 1963. I wasn't even a kid in 1973. However, this song was by a comedian by the name of Alan Sherman, and the song was actually called Automation. And it was back in that day and that era within the world where computers were starting to come out and robots as well, and people were terrified about losing their job. So his line in the song is, "It was automation, I'm told. That's why I got fired and I'm out in the cold." So that was back then. Nowadays, I work with so many clients who are utilizing automation to have an additional income stream, to have a side hustle that is actually enabling people to do more and bigger products. Nowadays, people would say to work smarter, not harder. Or as Michael E. Gerber from the E-Myth, the famous E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth from his book, says you want to create a company which is a turnkey, which he actually uses McDonald's as an example, where you could create a quality product that you could replicate easily, consistently, and preferably without yourself being involved. With that, we come to our first example of automation. And this here, even though I've called it consultants, truth be told, it could be used for any type of industry. Consultants, definitely. Even a landscaper, even accountants, or even bookkeepers as well could utilize this. Simply put, you're having a regular sales invoice. If you're on a monthly retainer, you have a fixed fee with your clients, you don't need to create invoices every month. What you could do is you could set this up, and the truth is it's relatively self-explanatory how it works, where Xero will be doing this in the background. Truth is, with my clients, Most of them are on a monthly fee. And therefore, on the last day of the month, their invoices gets created and sent to them automatically without me doing, well, I have to do the bookkeeping, but without me doing anything regarding the actual invoicing. Very easy, very simple, and very straightforward. This can be used in one of two ways. Either, like what I do mostly, is the information is going to be pretty much the same month in and month out, unless they don't like you and then they get rid of you, then we have to delete it. But otherwise, everything's going to be pretty much the same month in and month out, and therefore it just churns and sends it out, emails it directly to the client. I have a consultant client, business consultant. So, let's say that in a 31-day month, maybe you did 5 sessions with them at £200 a session. Or maybe, well, it's actually December, maybe he actually only is going to do 2 of them. So what I do with him is I create every single invoice to recur, but to go to a draft. And then I meet with him and we literally go through it. We could go through 15 invoices in probably less than 5 minutes. And everything is said and done very, very quick, very accurate. And again, with very, very little work. And this particular module in Xero is relevant to so many different industries. All right, let's move on to our next industry. Well, it's not really an industry because it's, again, it is all encompassing, and that's stock management. Stock management could be relevant if you have just a regular brick and mortar shop. Remember those? If you have a web shop, of course, if you're selling, on Amazon, eBay, Shopify, Etsy, all these types of things. And this is going to become a bit of a common theme, is where you want to have softwares talking to each other. So for example, if you're selling on Amazon and eBay and you're using Xero and you have, a run for your stock in Amazon, and then some guy orders something on eBay, well, I'm very sorry, we sold it all out on Amazon. So you need all these parties talking to each other. So the way these softwares work, and this picture here that we have is from Unleashed. There's also a software called Sin7. There are others as well. The way it works is the following. When you make your purchases, you do it through Unleashed. All of your purchases by product, by quantity, go into the software. And then that software is going to speak directly to Xero to create a purchase, to create the bill, to reconcile it eventually once it's paid. And then let's say on Amazon, eBay, Shopify, or whatever other software, or your own website or your own shop, when you sell, it will again, Unleashed will create that sales invoice, which will again be fed through to Xero. And the value of that is that your stock levels. So you cannot sell on Amazon if you've actually sold them all out thanks to eBay. So you're always in tight control of your stock levels, but at the same point, everything is going through the banking, is going through Xero, and can be reconciled perfectly accurate because it's all singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. That's stock management. Let's get to the next industry. And also, next industry is property management. Right? Now, property management is also quite popular, and it's gaining interest as well. It's getting stronger for quite a few reasons. First of all, Airbnb is becoming a much bigger player, and therefore people have either their own property or they have a investment property. HMOs, obviously, if a person is buying and then turning a property into an HMO. I have a client who deals very, very busy. They're very busy with short to mid-term leases. So if, let's say, you have students or people coming on business who need to be, London's just a very, very good example. Why would you want to come to Manchester? But let's say in London, where a person's coming to work for 2 weeks, for 1 month, for 6 weeks, for 3 months. So they have the short-term lease. Now, what's so complicated about that? Well, this software that we have in front of us is released. There's another software called Arthur. There's multiple softwares that do the same thing. You who are dealing with property management, you're going to live over here. You will be released. Yeah. So you're going to be released. I don't want to have anything to do with that finance nonsense. I can't be bothered with it. Great. Work on this software. And what's going to happen is the following. Is you're going to look on released. You're going to see, this property is available because that 3-week lease is ending on the 4th. We can move someone in on the 5th. Brilliant. Put his or her details into the system. They need to pay a deposit. So that's going to go into the system. that system is going to speak to Xero to create a sales invoice to send to the client. We need that deposit. And then we're going to set up the rent. And again, that's going to be based on released. And then the rental invoice as well is going to come through Xero. And we're going to know if it's paid or if it's not paid. And then when they leave, well, we got to pay the deposit back. So that also is going to be kicked through the system, making sure that everything is reconciled. Otherwise, but the point is you're working on released and it's automatically speaking to Xero, feeding through all of that data. So all of your finances are perfectly in place. And if you want management accounts, that's also happening, obviously, in the background. And it goes without saying, if you're VAT registered, that's also happening in the background as well. It was automation, I'm told. That's why I got fired as a bookkeeper and I'm out in the cold. But that's property rental. And also, of course, when you're dealing with people coming in at different points within the month, this one is three weeks. This one's leaving on the 4th, the 8th, the 12th, the 20th. There's so many different things moving, and Released is going to keep that in control. And you're not going to have to deal with the finances because it's going to feed automatically into Xero. Now, I think I've spoken enough. Jared, you want to take over for a bit?
Very interesting. Zach, quick one. So when you do a deposit through here, obviously it takes the deposit from the customer, it creates that necessary accounting journals, etc. Will it also, you spoke about the deposit getting refunded. Does that also get refunded through the system straight to the customer, or how does that work? Is it an alert?
So it would most likely, so the alert would come from the released side. Within Xero, because a deposit by definition goes onto the balance sheet, so it's going to be sitting there as a liability that we owe to the client. So the alert will come from released. The money is going to come from your pocket, or however, whatever. Maybe you could speak about this, about whatever payment system that you have set up. But Xero will not do the payment. It will not alert you to the payment as well, because this is something that will it create? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm just talking a lot to cover the fact that I'm not exactly sure. Will it create a bill? Very possibly, actually. If you really care, if you really want to know, I'll tell you after the class.
Okay, great. Yeah. Put in extra time questions.
Hope they don't ask that one.
Cool. Thanks for that, Zach. Very, very insightful. So from our side, one thing that we've realized is that everybody's business has a lot of manual processes, and we're all looking for a way to bring all of that together in an automated fashion. I think nowadays we've kind of got a software buffet, which we're eating ourselves like gluttons, and it's just overwhelming. We're using Google Sheets for keeping track of reminders, or Trello even as well. So like Trello for reminders, Google Sheets for something else. You've got Outlook. You've got, a million other different softwares. There's Xero, and ultimately it means that you're all over the place. You've got 100 different things in 100 different softwares, and you're trying to how do I bring all of this together? So that's where Kolleno comes in. So Kolleno is a workflow, has a workflow tool within its platform. Does a whole lot of other features, which we'll talk about later, of course. But for the purpose of here, as we talk about workflows. So what is a workflow? A workflow is a sequence of events, and that ultimately triggers tasks, emails, SMS, reminders, and other forms of action points such as refunds. Hence, I was asking earlier on. And basically, the idea behind it is that you can define all your own triggers within the software. It's all drag and drop, no code, really just plug in and play. And if we use the example of a dunning strategy or a collection sequence, you can define it such as when, an invoice is overdue, and it's 3 days overdue, and the balance is above £500,000 or £500, whatever your balance is, and it's going to fall into a sequence of events. And what that will do is then it will trigger, emails, SMSs, etc. And it's a really smart piece of software, because you can then do what's called a branch or an if else. So if the invoice is dispute, follow let's do a phone call because it's more urgent. If it's not a dispute and it's just a little bit overdue, then, we're going to send an email or SMS. So really customize your strategy or workflow to your business and to your heart's content. And, there's 100 different data points within the software that you can filter on and customize. Now, this allows you to set up like hyper-targeted, behavior-triggered automations, ultimately using the right tone of voice at the right time to your customer. And for example, you don't want to be sending them a reminder to pay when there's an existing email going on for about a dispute of a separate invoice. So the software is smart enough to know, you can tailor that to say, well, if there's communication to this customer in the last 48 hours or 5 days, let's not harass them. I still would like to get paid. And it's super quick to set up using like a pre-built library of templates, and a template basically is a sequence of events, and you can plug in and play and edit all of those as you need. But ultimately, you can also make use of the Kolleno templates. It's been built off hundreds of thousands of data points and events that have been triggered through our software, and we've ultimately really nailed down the collections process. And not only does it do collections, it also does, a number of other task management processes, such as, chargebacks and refunds, and triggering those through the software. So, for example, when a chargeback comes in, how does your business handle it today? And, probably just someone gets an email and, let's hope for the best. Kolleno is smart enough to route that to the right person, depending on what your workflow is and, what even the reason of the chargeback is. Because if it's an incorrect charge versus an overcharge, there might be different people that deal with that. So the software really handles it all. And you can even do things like when a new invoice or customer gets created, let's send out, that automatic email for that invoice, sending it to the customer. Or if a new customer gets created, let's automatically send them an email to set up a direct debit. So really trying to remove all those mundane, repetitive tasks. And, ultimately, we're there to be your trusted business partner. And we want your team and yourself to focus on the things that, you really want to do. Nobody wants to send out 100 emails a day saying, please pay me. We've all got better things to do than that. So let's let the software do that. And, maybe we've got more time for golf in the afternoon if we finish our work on time. I think, we've spoken a lot about operations and different softwares, but ultimately it's going to come down to payments. So, stay tuned. I know Zach and myself have a few more things to discuss over here.
Right. That was more than impressive. But that being said, is that in Chicago, we had more effective ways of getting people to pay money.
How does that work?
I mean, I just don't know the age of the people in the audience. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to be discussing publicly if this is being recorded. But again, but I think the main term for it was called cement boots. It had something to do with Lake Michigan, whatever. But it's definitely not for now. And let's just move on. So the truth is, as far as the EPOS world, if there is such a thing, so as far as the EPOS, the electric point of sale, this is one of the most developing areas within finance, within the fintech, and within just integrating with clients, because you see everybody nowadays, and like you can see on the picture on the left, the EPOSs are getting actually smaller and smaller. And I give it maximum 5 years before you'll be going on the London Underground, and there's going to be a guy there playing the guitar or the saxophone, and he's going to have an EPOS there as well. Forget the hat with the spare change.
Actually, I've seen that. Your 5 years has come now. I've seen that in London Underground a few times recently.
Have you actually seen it? You've
Yeah.
actually seen it?
Yeah, it's unreal. It's also more convenient for both of us. He's playing good music. I'm happy to tip.
I mean, 100%. I'll tell you, I've actually seen, and it changes the behavior, because how much money would you put in a hat? And how much money maximum would you put in a hat? And how much money minimum would you charge to your card, right? And I've actually seen different people going around collecting charity, walking around with card machines. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. And nobody gives less than £5 when normally they just give some spare change. I've seen charities, very, very clever, where they put up literally like a poster on the wall, and they say, just, some type of slogan, our brilliant work, this and that, help, a sad bookkeeper, whatever whatever the charity is called. And all you need to do is tap the contact list, and it automatically will take £5. And people just walk by and tap it. These things exist. I'm sure you've seen these, but this is all because of this industry of EPOS, which is enabling everybody to have. Even the guy on the Underground, that's fantastic. Even there was actually okay, not for now. It's really, really enabling everybody to set up shop, literally. So, and this is of course relevant to if you have literally a shop. People who do services. I have a client, a lovely lady who does a physiotherapy, and she goes to people's houses. And you know what it's like, when I'm going to send you the invoice and just play it, please pay it when you can. Please pay it when you can. Please pay it now, right? And et cetera. And it takes her. I'm not leaving your house until you pay. She's got a card reader right there, and it can be dealt with immediately. I had an electrician who came to fix something in the house, got the all done and dusted. People forget, especially if you don't have a good accounting system to remind you, or if you don't have a system like Kolleno to make sure that it happens. It will be lost. For me, it's my pet peeve as a bookkeeper. The hard work that a client will do and not get paid because they don't have a system to set up for it. So that's what these things do. And one of the biggest areas where it helps nowadays is actually in restaurants. Let me explain. I'll explain by what we have in front of us. So you have the picture in front of us. So on the left, obviously, and the first two pictures are card terminals, and the third one is the integrations that it works with and other softwares. But what happens is companies like this one here is Zettel, used to be called iZettel, which is owned by PayPal. They'll send you, as you can see on the picture on the right, the cute little printer, a little terminal, which nowadays could just be a tablet, if not smaller, and then the card reader. And what will happen is each different software have their own personalities, but generally speaking, you'll get a daily settlement that will come into your bank account with the full sales of that day. And what you could do with it is the following. So first of all, let's go with the restaurant example, and you can extrapolate and then make that applicable to your own particular circumstances. Is that in a restaurant you might want to track sales of food, you might want to track separately sales of drinks, and separately from that you might also want to track the sales of alcohol or whatever examples you want. So what you do is you do the mapping within the software, which will translate into literally, if you have a menu that the waiter or the waitress is using, it's all coded behind the scenes and it's all being mapped to come through the settlements at the end of the day. So you could see what your food, your drinks, your alcohol sales were throughout the day. And of course, when things get slightly complicated and you got to be on it properly is when there's different VAT rates. If you're dealing with things that are standard rated 20% VAT, and you're dealing with other things, especially in the food industry, very prevalent, obviously, that are Xero rated. So then you got to make sure that these things are charged with and these things are charged without. And you want to separate the two, and you're going to have to do so. And then that comes into Xero automatically. With some of them, and we might talk a bit more about this as well, when it comes to a bank fee, let's say you're talking about Stripe or PayPal, if it's coming into the bank, what you can do to make things move quicker, and I think actually Jared also has a solution for this one, is you could create a bank feed where the gross amount is coming in, the fees separately are going out, and then the payout is subsequently transferred into your current account. So I create 3 bank rules, one for the gross, one for the fee, and then another one for the transfer into the current account. And again, you could reconcile this stuff so quickly, so effectively, so streamlined and accurately as well. Some of them you need to use a clearing account, but that's just a bit of a complication, which is not for now. But the point is, we're here about automation. We're here about making things quicker, faster, and easier. And you want to develop your business. You don't want to be focusing on this. And all of these tools literally facilitate that. All right, what's next?
Cool. So continuing all things payments, I think, Zettel's a great solution if you need a point of sale device or you've got a web shop. But we realize a lot of you are, you've got a website, you're invoicing your customers day to day like you normally would, but it's like, how do you get paid? And because if you can't make it easy for your customer to pay you, they simply A, are not going to pay you, or B, they're going to go elsewhere. So that's where Kolleno comes in. And Kolleno provides, as part of its offering, a white labeled payment portal. So that's with your branding, your colors, your logo, and multiple different payment options, because you really want your customer to be able to pick the payment platform that's most convenient to them. So what do I mean by this? Some customers want to pay by card. Some customers want to do direct debits. Others might want to do open banking. Ultimately, if you can provide your customers with multiple different payment options, you will get paid faster. Kolleno processes tens of thousands of payments a month, and statistics show that if our own customers So the people that are using the Kolleno software have one or more payment portals. So payment methods available. So let's just go with open banking and card. You will receive 34% more payments per week when you've got more than one method available to you. So, the numbers don't lie. We're all accountants in some shape or form here. And it's really easy to see. So what Kolleno does is we integrate directly into multiple different payment methods. We've got currently 9 on files, even ACS and ACH in Canada and America. So no matter where you are, we'll be able to cater for you. So we integrate directly into these payment options. And then ultimately what that means that when your customer makes payments via this payment portal, we'll push that directly into Xero. Once it gets pushed to Xero, we mark the invoice as paid. And not only do we mark that pay in, we also record the payout. So that's really important because, a lot of different providers can record the pay in, but not many people can do the payouts. And I don't think anyone's going to do it better than us. Speaking as an accountant over here by trade.
Unbiased.
So the reason I say that is that if you're using a provider such as Go Cardless or Stripe, what will happen is, you'll take the payments at the point of sale or whenever that invoice is paid by the customer, you'll mark it as paid. Now what happens is that your payment provider or payment service provider is the technical term, PSP, and when they make the payouts to you, such as Stripe or Go Cardless, they will include, say, 100, 200 different individual payments, depending on how busy your business is, in that payout. So this means you having to now go reconcile which of those pay-ins relate to that payout. So Kolleno handles that for you automatically, and no manual intervention required. As soon as we get notified by the payment provider that there's a payout, we record the payout within Xero for you. We record all those card processing fees for you. So again, nothing, end-to-end, fully catered for. Now, not only do we, take your automated payments via, our payment portal, we also help you with your manual bank transaction matching. So I know Xero does have a bank rec tool. We like to think that we've got version 2 or the better version of it within the Kolleno system. We use more than I think Xero uses just 2 data points. We use 9 different data points from a bank transaction file. And what that means is you can bring your bank feeds directly into Kolleno, whether you're in America or in Europe. And once we've got those bank feeds directly in, using AI and machine learning, we will automatically be able to recommend which supplier or customer those bank transactions relate to. And over time, the more you use the system, the more it learns. And we can then start defining, well, every time I see this payment come in, it's clearly for that supplier. And then we're going to automate that for you, or at least, auto suggest. So you've ultimately got the final say, and click accept and you're good to go. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is no manual intervention required, which means no errors, more time, and less human involvement. That's what Kolleno's payment portal can do for you.
Good. Very good. I mean, I suppose ultimately it's what I do is I do Xero work, whether it be with a Z or with an X, but it's all pretty much the same. Very good. Very good. Now, with automation, and even though automation here is the goal, and like I said, I've seen automation, how it literally enables people to run a full company by themselves, or to give them that freedom, the work-life balance, a side hustle, whatever the case may be. With all automation, obviously, comes the potential of great error as well. So if someone else is doing it for you, even if it's a machine, nonetheless, it still has the ability to make errors. I'll give you an example, and it's going to be relevant to the next slide. But if, let's say, all of your sales invoices are coming through straight automatically into the system, well, it could be that a statement will also come into the system. So you get, let's say £1,000 a day from your suppliers, and then eventually there's a £25,000 that comes through as well. Well, actually, that was a statement. So Xero has recently released a report which enables us to have a tighter control in a quick glance of potential errors, which means we're really holding that information much tighter and have that ability to keep the control. And this report is what we're looking at in front of us. It's called the General Ledger Exceptions Report, and it's really, really cool for geeks like me. And what it does is you obviously choose the period that you're interested in, last month, last quarter, whatever you want. And it's looking it's looking for anomalies. It's going to tell you, well, that's interesting, because normally you put this, you put Starbucks into travel or subsistence. And this month, you actually put Starbucks into petrol, which according to some might be logical. However, normally you put, this into direct expenses, and now you put it into motor vehicle expenses. All these types of things is going to pick up on the fact that you veered from the norm. It will pick up on it's actually the not the normal VAT rate, which is a very, very useful one. And it's also going to pick up on it's actually much higher or much lower than usual. And in classic Xero form, you're able to drill down into the actual bill or the invoice and to see it right then and there. So if you have any concerns of something not being correct, the information is literally right there in front of you. You could change it, obviously, with find and recode, and then everything can be put back into its place. And ultimately, this report should be quite small if everything is being done correctly. Good. Okay, now this one. If we had the ability to put in a drum roll, I would do it right here and right now. Now, I know that many of you are, well, Jared, why are you laughing? And this is very, very serious. Now, HubDoc is I would say one of the most important. I would call it game changing. And of course, and I should have said this first, it's free. So once you have your Xero subscription, HubDoc was thrown in free. Now, it's very difficult for me to say how game changing and how wonderful it is because it's actually a Canadian software and I'm from further south. But nonetheless, now I'm certain that many of you are very familiar with HubDoc, but don't tune out entirely because I do have a few tricks up my sleeve for this one. So for those of you who are not familiar with HubDoc, what HubDoc does, or as they call it up north here, they call it HubDoc, is it's the way to get your paperwork into Xero. I generally use it for purchases. It can be used for sales if you're creating sales invoices externally to Xero, but I use it almost exclusively for purchases. Some of you might be more familiar with Dext, formerly known as Receipt Bank, or Auto Entry. Same idea, just different colors. Now, there are 3 ways to get paperwork into Xero. For some reason, many of my clients find it very exciting and cool. It's really sad, but you could download the app onto your phone and you take a picture of that Starbucks petrol receipt we spoke about before, your Tesco receipts, any type of, traveling, your coffees and this and that and the other. Take a picture on the app, make sure it's clear and has all the information, approve it and chuck it. And therefore, that is now into HubDoc. That's number 1. Number 2 is you can download, or rather upload, I suppose, is, that box on the left there. You can either hit the green button, which will open up your files, or you can literally drag and drop onto that box, and those files are now in HubDoc. And number 3, and this is one I'd like to focus on a bit longer, is email. Now, obviously, email is pretty straightforward. Is I create a bespoke email address relevant to the company usually, and then you just email your bills into HubDoc, and it's there. Now, let's do a little bit of a pause on that. We'll come back to it in a moment. And then what HubDoc does is it reads the invoice or the bill, or the receipt rather, and it can, and through machine learning, it works out exactly the supplier, the date, the due date, which actually does better than Dext, the due date, the amount, the VAT rate, and then from the machine learning, it works out the account code that you've used previously, where to put it in Xero, and the name of the supplier. Now, let's automate things even further. And this is the trick that I have up my sleeve. I encourage clients who are getting purchase invoices, bills, receipts, whatever on email, to create an email filter. So when I receive an email from my supplier, from invoices@supplier.co.uk, in the subject line, it says monthly bill, and then there's an attachment that should automatically be sent to the HubDoc email address. So it automatically goes to HubDoc without me doing anything, just the way I like it. And then Xero is going to read all the data from it without me doing anything, which is the way I like it. And then now Jared's playing around with his mouse, but he's not far away from the little auto sync button, which is just, you missed it. You missed it entirely. It's on the right. Yeah, it's, was that my, okay, no, that is your mouse. That on the right is a little square that says auto sync. And if you tick that box, so when the bill goes in, and it's red, it will be sent through to Xero. So therefore, you have your suppliers who are sending stuff. It's coming all the way through to Xero anyway. And then all you need to do on the Xero side is literally click the OK button. So just to summarize, I spoke to a prospective client recently, and I shot myself in the foot because I said to him, I said, he's selling online. I said, do yourself a favor, get a good software like Kolleno, whatever the case may be, get a good software that's going to take all of your online sales and pull it straight through to Xero. And then use email filters combined with HubDoc for free to automatically send it through to Xero. This is a guy who's setting up an online sales side hustle. He's got a full-time job in London. He's a busy dude, doesn't have time for this bookkeeping rubbish. I mean, it's not rubbish to me, but and therefore I said, your sales are automated, your purchases are automated. And I said, wait a minute, you don't need a bookkeeper anymore. So I said to him, I said, just, have me come in maybe once a quarter to check your VAT return, make sure that everything is correct, and send it through. That was my proposal to him because of this automation of what one can do. So that is HubDoc. HubDoc is literally game changing. If you use it right, you can really, really be setting yourself up for tremendous success and ease of the whole bookkeeping process.
Well, I think we are a little bit over time, so we might hop into some questions if that's good. Yeah, so please, everyone, you can just raise your hand or write in the chat, and we will answer your questions. If you don't have any questions and you've enjoyed today, if you want to know anything about all things Xero, bookkeeping, automation, please give Zach a shout. If you're keen to learn a bit more about, how you can automate your FinOps, specifically your operations processes, or around accounts receivable automation, bank rec automation, please give me a shout at Kolleno. You can find both of us on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you very much.
For the record, I've already booked in a meeting with Jared. I'm quite excited about that.
Cool. First question from an anonymous attendee. What are the differences between Xero reminders and Kolleno reminders?
I refuse to answer that question. I'm going to give that over to Jared.
Thank you, Zach. So yeah, what is that? What is the difference? So first of all, Kolleno reminders, it's way more powerful. It's much more than just sending out an email when the invoice gets created. It's really going to be able to go fully dynamic, use multiple different data points, customize and tailor to your business, for the right time, tone of voice, communication, and there's a lot more actions and triggers that create along that flow. So for example, quite a popular one I've seen with some of our customers is you send out a collection email, and by the second or third email, if you still haven't got a response, you then automatically send an email to the CFO, because at that stage you're way more likely to pay if the CFO is included in the email. And or another personal favorite I've heard our sales team sometimes use is you email the CFO, but you tag the credit controller and just say, does this person still work here, because they haven't responded to my email. Your business, it depends on how you can go about that.
I mean, to be fair, invoice reminders within Xero is it's a nice feature, but it is very, very simple and very rudimentary. It's not has no personality to it, relatively. So it's not really going to do the job anywhere near what Kolleno could do. It's extremely basic. Should we go to Anonymous seems to have two questions today.
Yeah, well, let's why don't we go? I'll give you the next one from Mason Brady, Zach. I'll read it out.
Yeah.
So it seems like the automation workflow works well for recurring invoices where the client has a recurring fee each month. What about situations where there's a lot of variability in monthly invoices? Yeah. The client may not have any project work that month.
Right, excellent. So the truth is, I touched on that a little bit with I have this business consultant that I work with, and what I do is let's say Mason that it's relatively the same, and that's literally good enough. Is that what you do is you set it up that it's there, and it's sort of like a blank sheet of paper waiting for you. So if let's say a person does multiple sessions per month and they charge per session. So in November I did 6, and in December I do 3. So what I would do with the recurring invoices is I would put it to draft, and that it's there, and it's also a good reminder for me. Maybe I'm so busy and have so many clients, I'm gonna forget to invoice. So I like it there, and if I do nothing that month, just delete it. it's not approved yet. It's only a draft. It's not within the system. It's not going to, mess up anything. So for me, it's very, very malleable. You could change it as you wish, and it's actually very, very useful that way.
Great, thanks, Zach. And then maybe I'll just build on that, Mason, because I know your questions kind of seem double-edged there in the sense of it's talking about the recurring invoice within Xero function that Zach showed, as well as the automation within Kolleno. So within Kolleno, first of all, we're not going to send your client an email if there's no invoices available, and you can really customize the sequence of events that basically it can run for as long or as short as you need. So if there's no invoices in that month, it just won't get any communication. If the invoices from the previous month, you can choose if you want to keep following up again and again. In terms of integrations, you mentioned here ProjectWorks. Kolleno integrates with a number of different softwares. I think we're about 20 or 30 different softwares at the moment. ProjectWorks isn't on that list, but yeah, happy to have a chat with yourself. We do have an open API. So we are possible to integrate with anyone. I mean, Zach, does the recurring invoices within Xero, does that have any integrations that it can pull in information at all?
No, I'm not sure. I don't have that experience to answer that question. I don't know. But if I could jump into the second question that was asked, about up to what point should I use Xero? Is there a limit to the number of invoices it can handle in your experience? Which is a very, very interesting question. And I was doing some work for a client who was actually getting threats, I think, from Xero because he was using too many. But the reason why I mentioned is what he does is he sells dental products online. And what we do is we get our monthly report from the website, and from that, using macros, we make it that it fits the Xero sales import template, and therefore I do this work monthly, and I'm literally doing how many invoices? I'm probably doing maybe 4, 5, maybe 6,000 invoices every month, in order to match it against Stripe payments. And it probably takes me about 20 minutes. Literally, you're doing thousands upon thousands of invoices every month, and it can be done so quickly if you're using the import template. But that's a very specific type of work, but it's a huge way to, I can't call it automating, but it's certainly something that back in the day, a person would have to do every invoice one at a time manually. And here you're able to import a few hundred at least at a shot to reconcile it and really, really make things move so much. It's quite incredible how much time is saved by that type of product.
Yeah, I got the next question over here from Dev Galot. What about Go Cardless? How does that incorporate with Kolleno and the Xero workflow? So Dev, great question. First of all, there's a seamless integration from the setup, really one-click sign-in within Kolleno to connect your Go Cardless account via API, and Kolleno can automatically import all of your existing mandates. Once those come within the Kolleno system, you can then set up a few different sequence of events. First of all is automated charging. So what that means is, no more downloading your CSV and then uploading it into Go Cardless to create those charges. Kolleno is going to do it for you automatically. So you can trigger it as soon as an invoice gets created and the due date becomes due. The charge will go out on that due date within Kolleno. Kolleno will then also take all the funds, push it back and the payouts like we spoke about previously. So it's really a one-click seamless sign-on. Last question, Zach. Maybe you can take this one. To what extent you customize invoicing within Xero?
So I was looking at that question, and I'm not sure specifically what's being asked, but within Xero, I'm not sure if they're talking about the look of the invoice. Obviously, you could upload logos and you could change things around. You could have different templates. You could import your own template as well. There's a way of doing that through a Word file. I'm not sure. I mean, the truth is there's a lot of flexibility within Xero, within the settings of how to have your invoice and what information to have, what not to have. So I'm not sure if that's answering the question sufficiently.
No, I think that's great. And I think maybe the last thing around that was, when someone talks about invoicing, I guess that's where, there's creating that invoice and then there's sending it out. So I think, Xero is a great platform to create those invoices, or you're going to use a number of different providers. I think, if you want to take it to that next level, like unleashed for stock management,
Right.
that Zach mentioned, then then you really want to be looking at other softwares, because I think Xero's built a great platform, but what also makes it great is because they integrate with everyone. It doesn't matter which system you're on. Ultimately, they'll be able to push their data into it, and everyone's found their niche. We're all part of the community here ultimately, and all working from different facets and hopefully complementing each other accordingly.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I mean, if you see like the picture in my fake background, to my, I think it's to my left, that circle is literally that like the app, all the different apps that connect to Xero that work together. That literally they're all, some of them are actually speaking on multiple different planes to each other, in order that you're able to run this business doing so many different facets, and potentially just staying on one software, on two softwares, but the value is that they do speak to each other and keep all that information unified. And it's absolutely outstanding how it can work.
yeah, I think that's the end of our questions. It's been a great webinar. Zach, any closing words from yourself?
No, just the concern that I may have put myself out of business here, but I'm very happy to help you set it up and then walk
Well,
away. There's so much automation that you can do. What?
maybe there's a whole new business line here, just consulting and advisory. Like taking that bookkeeping to the next level.
So I could do even less than zero work, 100% less
Uh,
than zero work.
Great. Thank you,
Sub
everyone,
zero.
thanks for the time today. And yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
like I said, thanks, Zach. And thank you all for attending today.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.